Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Hey guys, just wanted to offer you a free gift here as a part of being a listener of my show. If you go to kfmfree.com, you can get the top 30 books and top 30 success quotes that every man must live by. So obviously every show we talk about books and we talk about success quotes. And so I've compiled the best of the best out of the last 100 episodes into a short guide. So kfmfree.com and it's all yours. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Geoff Woods, the founder of the Mentee podcast. He documents his journey from employee to entrepreneur and the mentors who are guiding him. So, Geoff, happy to have you here.
Thanks, Andrew. Happy to be here.
All right, Geoff. And so we start off every show with a favorite success quote of the guest, some sort of saying that they live by. So what do you got for us? And then explain why you chose that.
Sure. The quote is a Jim Rohn quote. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And this was not just a quote that motivated me. This is a quote that actually profoundly changed my life. Have you heard it before?
Yeah, I mean, Knowledge for Men and is almost based off that quote. And I have a private mastermind group called the Lion's Den where that's pretty much the motto of the group. Yeah, it's powerful. Go ahead and shed light on it.
Yeah. So my story is I'm going from employee to entrepreneur, like Andrew had shared. And my day job is medical device sales. It's a job that I love, and I'm so blessed to even be able to say that. I work from home, I wear scrubs every day, I run through hospitals, and I sell a product that actually saves lives. It's really freaking cool. But at the end of 2013, something happened where one of my colleagues, he was 35 at the time, had a stroke. And this just rocked me so hard because here I am, wife, baby, mortgage, thinking life is so good. And I realized what would happen if something happened to me and I could no longer work, or God forbid, I pass away. What happens to my family? And I realized in that moment that I had to start building passive income because as secure as my job was, and as much as I love my job, I can't allow a company to control my family's security like that. The very next week, the universe has an interesting way of working. My income was slashed by 40% when my company made a change to my commission structure. So you can imagine the fire that was ignited in that moment. And then I hear this Jim Rohn quote. I think, who are those 5 people that I actually spend the most time with? And I encourage you right now, who are the 5 people in your life that you actually spend the most time with? Are they where you want to be in 10, 15 years? And for most people, this myself included, the answer was no. And that's why you guys follow Andrew, is because you're trying to upgrade your inner circle, if you will. And it's so critically important. And as I went down this journey of upgrading my inner circle, it was amazing the mentors I was able to form relationships with. And that's why I started my podcast, to press record on some of those conversations, because there's some pretty heavy hitters. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. So
cool.
Share with us, who were your average 5? Who were they? And then share with us now who they are now.
Yeah, so the 5 were buddies from college, people that I grew up with, and they're all still dear friends. They're all still in my life. But I realized that we all made about the same amount of money. We all had the same mindset. Mm-hmm. But I realized if I wanted to get to the point where I was earning 7 figures a year, where I had a boatload of passive income, I needed to start seeking counsel from people who already had those things. And so while those 5 are still in my life, the new 5, in terms of who I actually seek guidance from, are completely different. One of the guys, if you've ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire, have you seen it, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. Tom Cruise and...
Yeah, so that's based off a real sports agency called Lee Steinberg Entertainment. Okay. My closest mentor was the CEO of that sports agency for many, many years. So a very connected guy and really a badass. Another guy is a real estate investor. He's done about 10,000 transactions because my first thing I wanted to get into was real estate. So instead of trying it on my own, I figured I might as well go to some of the best of the best. And this guy took me under his wing, and now I'm a partner with him. So those are a few of the guys. Another guy who's recently stepped into the fold used to be the executive vice president for Tony Robbins. So he traveled the world with Tony for many years, spoke on the same stage, and really helped Tony build the business that he has today. These are the guys who are advising me now.
Wow, what a change. And okay, so the question is then, Geoff, how do you get in contact with these people?
Good question. I kind of stumbled into this, and luckily I come from a strong sales background where it just seemed very natural to me. But as I look back, I realized there was a series of steps that I took that I can share with you that hopefully you can start to take action on. And the first thing you really need to do is just get clarity on what it is that you want. Andrew, can I use you as an example?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what's the big thing that you're working on? What's the number one thing you need help with right now?
I am working on building a team.
What does that mean?
Building a team for my business.
Okay. And if you had to imagine a person as a mentor, what would that person be like who could help you?
Yeah, I'd think of people who have successful organizations, not just successful businesses, but a company who has a successful culture where you walk in and there's just something different here. And people are smiling. People are happy. People are glad to be there. And I think that's what would inspire me. Kind of like when you walk into the Apple store versus when you walk into, let's say, Walmart.
Totally get it. So Andrew has complete clarity on what it is that he wants. He wants to build a team, and he's looking to surround himself with people who have built successful teams and a true culture that establishes the business to set up for success. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So step one, you got your clarity. You know what it is that you want. The next thing you got to do is just go out and talk about it. And I realized in all my conversations with people, when you pick up the phone and you call a friend, it often starts with, "Hey, Andrew, what's up?" "Not much, Geoff. What's up with you?" "Not much." And then the conversation continues. That is a missed opportunity. How many times do you get on the phone with a friend or a relative or anybody and it's what's new, what's up, what's happening, and you say not much and you just move on? How often do you do that, Andrew?
It happens. Sometimes you're conscious of it. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're thinking about other things. But yeah, it can happen.
And Andrew's the type of guy who's ahead of the curve where he doesn't do it all the time. Most people, they do, and I did it as well. But if you could simply just make a subtle shift and start saying, when somebody says, "What's up?" instead of saying not much, just simply say, a lot recently, I'm really focusing on building a team for my business, and I'm looking to surround myself with people who have built really successful cultures in their businesses. And you zip your mouth. It's amazing how fast things come to you when you simply just share what it is that you are looking for. Because that person you're talking to, you may not know this, but they may have built that culture before. They may have been a successful real estate investor like I was looking for originally. And by simply sharing it, all of a sudden they may be like, "Hey, I could totally help you." Boom, you're done. Drop the mic, move on. But not everybody is that person. But you know what? We all know people. So they may know somebody and they would consider making a connection. Or maybe you just plant a seed, and as they continue to network, if they come across somebody, they'll make that connection. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Things come to you very rapidly when that happens. So I really encourage you guys just to start with those two things, because if you can do that, huge shift.
Also, what I see here is you're beginning to get real with people. You're not yada, yada, yada. It's boom, this is what's going on. This is what is going on in my life right now. And this doesn't need to be about me building a team. This could also just be about me saying, "Hey, I'm actually doing my corporate taxes for the first time this year. I have no idea how to do it, and it's my first time doing it." So that's what's going on in my mind right now. Or I'm trying to put on some weight right now and I'm struggling with that. Or with people like, "Hey, this is what's going on." And I think that could equally bring back results into your life.
See, Andrew just shared with me that he's trying to put on weight, and I know that he skipped lunch today. And I'm like, "Dude, you're so skinny. You need to eat something." That's what my Jewish mother would say. "Dude, go eat something."
I did share that with you. I was like, earlier when we were talking and I was like mixing up my words and I was like, "Oh, I skipped lunch today." And then what a coincidence there. But yeah, the grind is real. The grind is real.
The Jewish mother in me is like, "Andrew, go eat something. You're too skinny, honey."
All right. Yeah, that sounds like an old school Adam Sandler stand-up, one of his acts there.
Fellow tribal member.
Okay,
That's how we roll.
Got it. You guys sticking together. Dive more into your story. Now you have this podcast and you're interviewing successful people. Share with us more about your story from where you just left off earlier.
Yeah, sure. What happened was I simply put an intention out there that I wanted to surround myself with good people. I knew I wanted to start building passive income. I'm still doing my day job. It's so easy to try to say, all right, how do I start a business? I want to go do it. The first thing that I learned is you have to detach yourself from the outcome. So it's okay to cast a vision. It's okay to have a North Star of saying, I'm going to have X dollars in passive income in the next number of years. But allow the how to unfold. And something magical happens when you just set an intention of surrounding yourself with amazing people. You get curious about people. You put an effort just to approach people without really asking for anything, but just to try to make a connection. And people really value that because there are so many people, especially in networking today, where they're handing you their business card, they're telling you what they do, they're trying to impress you, they're trying to see what they can get out of you. It's all about them. That is 100% the wrong way to go about it. So fast I realized as I started surrounding myself with the right people, the master networkers, the master connectors, the people who are the most successful are those who give. And one of my mentors breaks it down to a simple statement. You need to be more interested than interesting. You need to be more interested in the people in front of you than trying to get them to think that you are interesting. But something happens when you do that, because if you are interested in others, they'll think you're interesting. So what that could look like for you, when you're in a networking situation, instead of saying, so what's your business or what do you do? I often go up to people and I just say, so tell me, what are you working on right now that really excites you? It's such a simple question, but something that most people don't ask. And something happens when people start talking about the exciting things in their life. They start to feel those positive emotions, and guess what? They get anchored to you. That's a big deal. And then I continue the conversation. I try to find out, just like I asked Andrew, what's the one thing you're working on right now? What's the one place that you need the most help? That is a fantastic question to start asking people, because you get to the crux of what they need. And then consider yourself to be a super connector. Can I help Andrew right now? No, I cannot. Do I know somebody who can help Andrew right now? I do not. But what I can do is tell Andrew that I'm going to scout for him. And as I continue to go about networking, if I come across somebody who's had success building teams and cultures, I'm more than happy to make a connection. And Andrew, as you hear me talking about that, what's your perception of me?
You're someone who brings value to the table.
Have I asked for anything?
You have not.
That's it, guys. That's it right there. I mean, if you can take action based on what you're listening to right now and simply just identify what you want, talk about it, and then approach every single interaction with a sincere intention just to connect with that person and figure out if you can help them or if you can become a connector, you will be wildly successful, and you will have people pouring into you on a continual basis, and you will just accelerate like you've never seen before. It is so simple, yet so seldomly done.
And on the idea of adding value, how do you add value to mentors and high value people? I think that's a common question that I've heard. And how are you adding value to someone that is just so ahead of the game?
Yeah, that's such a great question. This is the number one question that I get asked from the people who follow my podcast. And it's something that I'm developing a course on this to help people with this, but I do want to get into it for you guys. This is a limiting belief. It's a limiting belief that you don't think that you can add value to someone who's light years ahead of you in business. Because as I've sat down with my mentors and point blank asked them, why are you talking to me? Why do you mentor me? Why do you pour into me on a continuous basis? And the most common answer I hear is, at one point in time, they had someone who was light years ahead of them that had reached back, grabbed their hand, and showed them the way and rapidly accelerated their path. And now they feel like it's their obligation to pay it forward and do it for someone else. So the question is, can you put yourself in a position where you can show them that you're hungry and that you're willing to honor them by taking action on the counsel that they're giving you. Because if you can be that person, you will have people pouring into you in abundance.
Got it. I think that's huge. And with this, so on the other end of the spectrum, you have people that you want to surround yourself with. But first, you talked about earlier, you were the average of the 5 people. So you wanted us to take a look at who are these 5 people. And so now that we identify some people that are holding us down, we're thinking, okay, yeah, that's definitely one. Oh man, this is another one. What do you do with the energy vampires? What do you do with the negative, the naysayers, when these are people that you've known all your life?
I start to refer to these as your friends of circumstance. You're friends with them because you happen to be next door neighbors with them, or they happened to be a family friend, or they happen to be a roommate or a fraternity brother in college, or whatever it is. You didn't choose these people. They just happened to be there. You got to cut bait. And this is hard to hear, but the whole reason Andrew is so successful is because he brings together the minds of some of today's most successful leaders. And the reason you listen is because you want to tap in to their minds. Yet why is it that they constantly talk about how at one point in time, they had to make a conscious choice to cut certain people out of their life? All the most successful people have done it. Why are you any different? You're not. You are going to have to, at one point in time, get the balls, excuse my French, but pull up your skirt, grab your balls, and cut bait with those people. Your life depends on it. You are far too valuable to be dragged down by those people who are going to suck your energy. And here's an easy way to tell if you should be surrounded by someone or not. How do you feel? We each have this internal thermometer called our feelings. And if a person makes you feel anything other than good, you need to reevaluate that relationship, because the energy that you carry and what you focus on is exactly what you bring into your life. Does that make sense, Andrew?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So one thing I want to help you with, there are some people, oftentimes the people who maybe you should consider cutting can be family members.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one there, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that option because they're relative to you. But what you can do is you can just distance yourself. Maybe you don't talk to them as often as you used to. Maybe when they call, you take a little bit longer to get back to them. You can never fully cut them out, but you can distance yourself. And that's okay. Again, you need to realize that at the end of the day, you are accountable for your life. And if you want to get to a certain place, you have to surround yourself with the right people. It is absolutely vital. So I really encourage you to take a hard inventory and ask, do you need to make any tough decisions? And if you do, know that plenty of other people have done it before. And if you need support doing it, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you walk through it.
Yeah. And going along with this, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons you've learned? What are some common themes that you've seen amongst these high profile people that you're interviewing, your mentors? What are some common things that you're just seeing over and over again?
All of them pay it forward, meaning they all invest in someone who's hungry. Every single one of them, because they want to leave a legacy. And they do this because at one point they had a mentor who told them that one day they would pay it forward. So know that if you want to approach a high profile or a really successful person, that likely they have a desire to leave a legacy and pay it forward. Now the question is, they're going to, why not you? The other thing is, they're all givers. They all have this abundance mindset. There is no one pie that gets divvied up and you have to fight for your biggest share. They all believe that if they can collaborate, the pie expands rapidly and everybody can have a much bigger slice. So the people who compete, the people who are vicious, that's not sustainable. They may have success in the short term, but the people who truly thrive in the long run, they're givers and they really do collaborate.
Any common habits that you're seeing? I'm interested not in so much how they got the result or what they did and accomplished, but in looking behind and seeing what were the common habits that they did, such as, I wake up early before 5, I meditate, things like that, where there's a habit that is actually responsible for those results.
Sure. You just nailed 2 of them. They wake up early, and those are the first two. They wake up early, and they invest in themselves. They read every day, either in the morning or at nighttime. They often exercise regularly because they want to take care of their body. Meditation is huge. That's the number one common trait that I see. They all meditate or pray, do some form of meditation. It's huge. And it's something that I've adopted in my life. And I'm at the point now where I can actually feel a difference in my day if I do not do my morning routine and meditate. 100% different. It's super noticeable. Those are the two, man.
Yeah. I think simple. Some listeners might be thinking like, what is it? What is it? But it's really simple things, but very subtle. And over time and consistently done can lead to significant results.
Here's another one. In terms of them valuing their time, they know what their time is worth. And if there's a task or an activity that they feel is not worth their time, they either delegate it or they say no. And I heard an interesting quote that if you ever want to be a millionaire, you have to start acting as if. You have to start acting like one. And the way that I started incorporating that into my life as I balance my day job and my podcast and my family is I just realized there's this wonderful resource called virtual assistants. If you don't know what that is, you need to go Google it. But you can hire a virtual assistant. I have one. She's a rock star. She's in the Philippines. She makes about $3 an hour. And that's a really good wage for over there. And I constantly am asking myself, what's my time worth? And if I can outsource it for $3 an hour, it's done. I mean, this is game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting about that too is when you're working with people in different time zones, while you're working, while you're kind of delegating, and then you go to sleep, you wake up and it's done. Because they're on a different time zone. So when you're sleeping, they're working. And so it kind of keeps your things rolling 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I have something called the knowledge round. I'm just going to ask you some rapid fire questions. So Geoff,
sure.
You ready for the knowledge round?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. If you're not reading books, then you're getting left behind. Somebody spent their entire life learning some invaluable lesson. And the best format that anyone could ever put it in is a book. It's the shortest, fastest, simplest way to consume content. So I know there are so many books available, and we talk about books all the time on the podcast. So there must be so many running through your head, and you're wondering, where do I begin? Well, I've compiled the top 30 books and success quotes from all of my guests in the last 100 episodes. So you can get them all for free. If you go to kfmfree.com, you can simply download the top 30 books that every man must live by. Again, that's kfmfree.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. Yeah, I'll just dive in with, you found a level of purpose here with your work. I can tell that you're very passionate about what you're doing here with your podcast and interviewing and the changes that it's created for your life and those that you love. And so my question is this. What advice would you give to someone who's really feeling lost or unsure of what they should do?
I would say, look at who your 5 are. Who are the 5 people in your life? Ask yourself, where do you want to be in 5, 10, 15 years? And you don't even have to know the specifics, but you can have a general vision. Maybe you want to own your own company. Maybe you want to have a certain amount of passive income. Whatever that is, start surrounding yourself with those people. You have to. It is that simple, because if you have 2 options. You can try to figure it out on your own. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, have a lot of failure, and probably waste a lot of time and money. Or you can form relationships with people who can say, number 1, you can do it. And I know you can do it because I've done it, and let me show you how. That is incredibly powerful.
Got it. Very powerful. And Geoff, what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Limiting beliefs. I came to realize how often I had manufactured a belief in my mind that held me back. And it wasn't until I started surrounding myself with the right people that they were able to look at me and go, where did that come from? What makes you think you can't reach out to this person and form a relationship to them? Has someone told you? Did they say no to you? And you just realize that how much you hold yourself back, and you just take action. And it's amazing when you just take action and you just lean into it, how the path just unfolds.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, can you share with us a conversation, a very powerful, impactful conversation that you've had with one of your mentors and how it changed you?
Sure. I get pretty vulnerable in my podcast because I actually press record on the real conversations with these guys. And I had one of my conversations with one of my mentors. I talked about how after my company changed my commission structure, this whole last year, we've spent more than we've made every single month. And I've gotten to the point where I have less than 1 month's expenses in cash. We're almost out of money. And I feel bad. I feel a negative energy. And it's very hard to get over. And my mentor looks at me and says, "You need to change the way you look at things." I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. Everything that happens to you in your life, you attract to yourself. It is your fault that you are running out of money. It's not your company's fault. It's your fault. Because clearly there is some lesson here that you need to learn. Otherwise, you would not have attracted this to yourself. And for that, you should be grateful." And so I pondered this and I realized, holy crap. He's right. I attracted this to myself because I had allowed my lifestyle, my wife and I had allowed our lifestyle to get out of control. We were spending more than we should have ever been spending on things that just didn't matter. And it took us almost running out of money for me to realize what really matters in life. That I was spending time and resources on the wrong activities and not focusing on the things that mattered most. And because of this, my wife and I are building a foundation of values that are so strong that as I grow this podcast and blow it up and my real estate investments continue to grow and I really amass true wealth, that I will have a solid foundation to build on. And because of that, I am so grateful for the situation that I'm in right now.
You've really chosen to acknowledge that, hey, this isn't great, but this is actually, I can change the way that I think about this and view this as an opportunity for growth.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I talk about seeking counsel from the right people, the people who have been there before. I went specifically to this mentor because at one point he was worth almost $100 million and he lost it all. He almost went bankrupt. He almost lost his entire family. And it took that level of a catastrophe for him to wake up and realize that he was accountable, that he had attracted that to himself, that he had surrounded himself with the wrong people, the wrong ideas. And because of that, he developed a foundation and is now back on top and in better position than he ever was before. So do I trust him? Do I believe what he's saying? You bet your ass I do. And he was right.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. And so I know you're in the reading game. I can tell. If you're throwing Jim Rohn quotes, I can tell someone's a reader. So what are your 2 or 3 most influential books and why?
So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read when I was a kid. And I feel like if you haven't read it, that's an absolute must. And I actually encourage that you go buy the board game called Cash Flow. I play it with my neighbors, and it's so funny how playing it with them one time rapidly changes their entire concept of money. And it did it for my wife as well. That's when she was like, "Yep, let's invest in real estate. I totally get it now." So that's a must. Another book, 3 Feet from Gold. You ever heard that one?
Yeah, Greg Reed.
Do you know Greg?
Yeah, he was episode 8 or 9 on this podcast.
Okay, so I'm friends with Greg as well, and that's how I've tapped into this vein of people. That book is awesome. I really enjoyed that one. And then another one is Connected to Goodness. And that's my mentor's book, Dave Meltzer, the guy who lost all his money and then rebuilt himself back up because he's figured out how to blend that spiritual side, that law of attraction side with business. And the principles in that book are the principles that he has taught me and that we now teach to other people in our own little, we call them mission groups, kind of like a mastermind.
Got it. Okay. Wow, good stuff here. I'm liking the momentum we're carrying in the knowledge around here, Geoff. So just kind of a round off, powerful question here, more of a scenario actually, but imagine you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do and what would you tell him not to do?
Trying to think what I was doing at 20 years old. I would tell him to follow his heart and to not follow the easy path. because at that point in time, I was an accounting major and interviewing with big firms and going to be an accountant. I have no freaking business being an accountant. Listen to me. I have no business doing someone's taxes. But, you know, they were recruiting me and they were offering me a job straight out of college. And it wasn't until the partner said, dude, why aren't you in sales? That I realized, holy crap, he's right. I would have said, figure out what your passions are. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the how. Cast a vision. Cast that North Star. Where do you want to be? And just focus on that every single day and try to surround yourself with the people who are there, who have experience there, and ask them how they got there and what they would recommend that you do. And let the path unfold itself. Detach yourself from the outcome. Let it come to you.
I'm just kind of letting that settle in. That's nice. That's nice. And that's something that anyone can hear at any time, find that thing, which is what's really powerful about it.
It's so interesting because anybody who's listening to this, I can tell a lot about you if you're listening to this because you invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so easy to attach yourself to the outcome. It's so easy to say, I want to make X number of dollars. And every single day you're like, oh, I'm not doing it. I haven't done it yet. And you freak yourself out. Cast a vision. Share your vision with your network. Tell people what it is that you want. And then just focus on connecting with people. It will come to you. I promise. And I know this because it's worked for me. And the reason I started doing it is because my mentor shared it with me and because it worked for them. So it's been proven time and time again. So just trust the process and try it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Any last parting piece of guidance, Geoff, for the listeners?
Take action. The greatest honor that you can give Andrew is to take action on what he's putting together. He put so much time and effort into this podcast to help you. And it's great that you listen. That's awesome. But I don't care how many podcasts you listen to. I don't care how many books you crush a year. How many of them are you mastering? How many of them are you taking action on and actually incorporating into your life? It's the people who take action are the people who truly thrive. I was talking with a mentor of mine and he said, you know, people all think that knowledge is power, and that's rubbish. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge without action is just data. But knowledge backed by action becomes powerful. Take action.
Yeah. I think sometimes, you know, we hear that so often. Go take action, massive action. But sometimes we just don't do it. We hear it so often that it's the simple things that really get us the results. And I've said it many times over, but you know, if you're listening to this episode or you've listened to many episodes and you're not getting the results that you want, then maybe you got to go on a no content diet and just stop listening to this podcast. And this is my podcast and I want you to listen to it, but I want you to get the results that you want. And the reason why you listen to this podcast is because you want to grow. So Geoff is absolutely right. Go take action. And maybe a no content diet is what you need. Maybe you got to just put it down and go for it and really just go for it. And I think everyone knows what they need to do. I think everyone knows how they can do it, but we're just waiting. And waiting is just really slowly preparing for our deaths if we're just waiting for the right opportunity, because that opportunity may not come.
Let me offer a way for you to change the way you look at things. What Andrew's talking about is resonating with me. If you're just waiting, you're wasting your life. And one thing people talk about, they talk about how they get up and they go to work. Mm-hmm. I challenge you to think about, what are you going to wake up and trade your life for? Because every day, isn't that exactly what you're doing? You're trading your life for something. What are you willing to wake up and trade your life for? And here's the real one. Are you getting the good end of that deal right now?
Wow.
As much as I love my job, it's not what I'm willing to trade my life for. That's why I do this podcast. That's why I try to get on shows like this to share this message. I feel it is my obligation to share this message with you. This is what I trade my life for. What can you trade your life for?
Yeah. You know what this brings up actually is, this is just going to be a little bizarre, but there's a movie called In Time. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, my boy JT.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake. And so for the listeners, what it is everyone has a time. It's like literally the amount of time that they have left to live is on their wrist. Like it shows a clock and it's ticking down. And actually, is it ticking down, or it's only when they want something
ticks down?
It ticks down. So like if they want to buy a meal, they put their wrist on this device, and then the restaurant would take away time, because time is what we do to make money. And so it's just that idea that, hey, you just give away your time. And so people would rob each other and steal their time. And I think really understanding that when you're at work, if you're at a job that you're not, a job that doesn't make you come alive, let's put it that way, a job that doesn't make you come alive, then you really are going into work. And when you clock in, literally clock in, you're doing the same thing as that movie. You're putting your wrist on the clock in, and it drains 8 hours. And then you get to walk out. But you actually have to experience those 8 hours. So that actually is worse. You have to go and do the work. But that's essentially what it is. You're sacrificing 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is. And then you just lost some time that you could have spent with your family, time that you could have spent traveling, time that you could have spent learning, time that you could have spent with mentors, time that you could have spent building something that you really, really want to create, building your legacy. So In Time is the movie. I'm not saying it's a great movie, but it's a great idea and for learning.
And everything that he just shared, because I know this resonates with most of you. It's unfortunate that most of us do not trade our life for something that's worth it every day. This is exactly why my listeners asked me to develop something for them to show them in the moments where they realize that they are not living their unique genius, when they're not stepping into their power every single day and trading their life for something that's worth it. How do they go about making that transition? And it starts by surrounding yourself with the right people. And how do you go about doing it? That's exactly what I'm going to be teaching them.
Wow. This has been a very impactful conversation here. And now just to conclude the knowledge round here, Geoff, what's exciting you today? What's really, really lighting a fire inside of you?
The abundance, the opportunities that are out there. You know, by doing this podcast and really putting myself out there and being vulnerable to say, this is who I am. These are the challenges I'm going through, and these are the guys who are guiding me. It's amazing how fast the right people have been attracted into my life and how fast the wrong people are being repelled. I realized very quickly that the people who matter don't care, and the people who care don't matter. And what I mean about that is judgment. If you're worried about standing up for who you truly are, to stand in your own power and say, this is who I am, unfiltered, because you're worried about what other people are going to think about you. The people who care don't matter, and the people who matter don't care.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And Geoff, how can my audience follow up with you?
So the podcast is called The Mentee, Mentee, and the website's menteepodcast.com. If this resonates with you, if you feel like you need guidance in any way, shape, or form, you know, you can shoot me an email, Geoff, Geoff, at geoffwoods.com. And if you want, as I look back on this journey, I realized that it was 5 specific steps that I took to get where I am. If you want to get that document, it's just menteepodcast.com/knowledge. And you can go through that and you'll get a copy. Take action on it. And let me know if it works for you. I'll help you however I can.
All right, Geoff, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story, being vulnerable on the show, and giving us the wisdom that you've learned from your mentors. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.